Hey, hi everyone. I'm here with a very wonderful person, Jessica Miller. She's the founder of Blogging for Jobs and very experienced HR professional. So let's meet her. Hey, Jessica, how are you doing?
Hi guys, doing good.
Great, great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name's Jessica. I have a human resources and workplace blog, Blogging for Jobs. Been blogging on the site since 2007. I started out as a practitioner, HR practitioner, working mostly in retail, call center, corporate type of environments. And 3 years ago, left the corporate world and am out on my own as a consultant, working with companies, training them on how to use social media or technology for recruiting or HR, or working with human resource service providers on how to talk to HR people using that same technology.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey of blogging for jobs? Now that you're get on to Forbes list, there are a lot of things happening there. How did you begin?
I guess you might think that I had some grand scheme, and really my life has kind of been defined by accidents, including my foray into human resources, which is kind of how I got started in the social media space to begin with. I didn't want to work in HR. HR chose me, and so started working for a large big box retailer and was having a hard time hiring and looking for good talent. So I started using dating websites online to source employees, candidates from. They have good information, really before MySpace and Facebook were popular. And then in 2007, I wanted to really continue the progression and differentiate myself and kind of talk about Twitter and MySpace and Craigslist even, and how these tools were being used in the workplace for job seekers, because nobody was telling them about how we were using these tools. So literally I jumped on Blogger and just set up Blogging for Jobs. I didn't really think much about the name. I just figured that I had to have a name, and I was blogging about the job search. So that's how it came about. Now there's much more strategy involved. Conversations are taking place. I think a lot more about the reader, which is more human resources and manager focused now. And we talk about the kind of topics that they want to hear without the BS. So like to give it to people straight, which is very unusual and unheard of when you work in the HR of the workplace.
Well, it's been really amazing to follow Blogging for Jobs, and we are getting a lot of information and then content out there. Well, how do you put this lot of content which people are really interested to read, and how do you do that research and then come back with a lot of information that you engage your audience?
So I have an editorial calendar. It's not set in stone, but there are certain things that happen at certain times throughout the year when you work in HR, right? You know that annual benefits enrollment happens around this time. Seasonal hiring happens at this time. We negotiate different things at different points. Maybe we're planning our 2013 recruiting strategy right now. Not every marketer or publication thinks that way, so I have a sort of basic editorial calendar, sort of wireframe that we go by. There are 14 different contributors outside of myself that are writing on the blog. I normally write 2 to 3 times a week. They have free reign to talk about whatever it is that they want that benefits them. I will provide like suggestions and recommendations, but each individual that writes on the site has a different area of expertise. Like my friend Mike Haberman, he talks more about like the unsexy workplace topics like holiday pay, exempt level status, what does that mean? Mike Vandervoort talks about union topics, also not extremely sexy, although the NLRB is trying to change that for us. But each person kind of has their little niche, and so they really focus on those areas. I really try to make sure the content is educational, but it's also entertaining, because I realize that we have options as HR people. We read a lot of different publications. Many of them are boring white papers, and so if I can give the reader 30 seconds of joy or make them laugh a little bit and talk about a workplace topic, then I've done my job while they've learned something at the same time.
Great. Well, can you tell a little bit about the search engine optimization and then marketing the blogs and all?
Yeah, so I didn't always think about this kind of stuff. when I first started, I just wrote a blog. There was no Twitter to be able to distribute. You were solely relying on blog carnivals, RSS feeds, being listed on blog rolls to really drive your web traffic. And really it was only the past couple of years that I really started to focus on SEO, which is search engine optimization. Because so many of us are using Google, Bing, and even Ask.com to be able to find everything from jobs to directions to, you know, the best baby stroller to buy. HR people are using these search engines the same way. And so I really focus on what are called long-tailed keywords, which are lower competitive. They don't have as many monthly searches, but it's more likely that I will get on the page 1 and my blog will be featured there. A lot of the larger marketing firms, but also HR vendors, they're putting out hundreds of articles a week. A lot of them are crap because they're really just sales pieces, and they're using the short-tailed words, which are more competitive, and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on pay-per-click. So I'm competing with those guys, which is one of the reasons I focus on the long-tail keywords, which makes my blog have a really low, what is called a bounce rate. And that means when somebody comes to the blog, if you have a low bounce rate, that means they don't automatically leave. You know, when you go to a site and you're like, this is crap, I'm leaving, and you just head on out. My bounce rate is almost always at 1%, which means that 99 people out of 100 are staying more than 15 or 20 seconds on the blog and are checking it out. And that's really because of SEO and targeted content that's interesting and relevant, but especially for people who are looking on Google, they're able to see something that they want and they want to stay to get more.
Great. So what do you suggest for the new and upcoming HR bloggers for, you know, to get onto social media, and how do you suggest utilizing social media in terms of getting visibility for your blogs and all?
You know, I think it's really important to be very targeted when you set up a blog. I am glad that I talked about job seeker topics. We kind of switched to HR. I'm sort of getting more broad as we go along because I'm able to reach more people and I have the credibility and the backlinks and all these SEO sort of marketing strategies that are involved in that. But be really specific and talk about things that are important to you that you're passionate about, because bloggers typically hit this kind of block around 18 months. So you start your blog, you're really excited, you're writing like crazy, you're getting comments, visitors, you're tweeting, you're Facebooking, and then around 18 months you sort of like fade. It's becoming a job. And there's no passion behind it. So talk about something that you know and love when your face lights up, when you're at an HR conference or the session that you're the first one to go to. That's probably a topic that you should focus on, and try to plan some of your conversations. Don't sort of like try to automate the entire process, make it a little spontaneous, but planning is good because then it makes it not so much like a job. You can have your life. You can go do things around your blog. As far as social media goes, for getting to know people, there's so many great people in HR, so many great practitioners, so many great leadership writers and bloggers out there, and vendors too, that are out there having conversations on social media. So I would say get out there, get to know people, network your ass off, and think about your blog as the center of your universe. And I have a graphic with this, maybe I'll send over to you. But your blog is the center of your marketing universe, and that's where you're driving everybody to. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these other places, they're good. It's good to have the micro communities, but at the end of the day, you don't own that information. So you're driving people to one place, and that's your blog, where what you own and what you love and what you can control, and where longer-term conversations can take place. I think if we think about our personal brand in that way too, it's going to make finding a job or establishing yourselves as an expert, somebody with credibility in the profession, much, much easier.
Great. Well, we don't have, that much storytellers, but then we have a lot of HR professionals. What do you suggest for the young HR professionals, or what are your words of wisdom for the young HR professionals who are currently in the blogging industry?
I really like what's happening with the blogging industry. We were talking about this earlier over breakfast. It's kind of cool to see different people making their own take, finding their own way. I think you should be true to yourself. But realize as a young professional, and I didn't always know this, I'm getting a little bit of perspective now that I'm getting older, that just because you're 24, you're 26, you don't have all the answers. And so surround yourself with some older mentors, 10, 20 years old, but then surround yourself with younger mentors that you can be able to talk to and learn from. You can be inspired from them, but that keeps bad blog posts from happening. There's been some Gen Y blog posts that have come out like anyone over 40 sucks. They don't know what they're talking about. They shouldn't be managing social media. And those have created a real negative viral component for that particular individual, which I think will hurt them as this particular woman graduates college and has to go out and look for a job. So sitting down and kind of talking to some of the older bloggers or maybe people who've been in the profession a little bit longer, as well as the young folks, will help you be able to plan your content and put out good stuff that's relevant and avoid kind of negative viral topics and conversations happening.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. It's been an amazing conversation that we had right now, and thank you for your time for spending with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.